Hyunwoo Kim stood in the center of the Great Hall on Nexus Prime. The massive room stretched high above him, with seats arranged in circles that went up and up like a giant bowl. In those seats sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They all looked down at him with eyes that showed no respect. The human ambassador wore his best dark blue uniform. The gold buttons caught the light from the crystal ceiling. But even in his finest clothes, he felt small in this place. The aliens had built this hall to make visitors feel tiny and weak. It worked on most species. Today, it would not work on humans. Hyunwoo had been Earth's voice in this place for 5 years. 5 long years of listening to insults. 5 years of watching these creatures treat his people like children who needed to be taught how to behave. He was tired of it. All humans were tired of it. Behind him stood So-Young Park, his aide and translator. She was young but smart. Her dark eyes watched every alien in the room. She had learned their languages and their ways. More importantly, she had learned to see the hate hiding behind their polite words. At the front of the Great Hall sat the council leader, a tall gray being called Vex Talon. His people, the Athari, looked like giant birds that had learned to walk on 2 legs. They had ruled this council for 300 years. Vex Talon's yellow eyes stared at Hyunwoo like he was looking at an insect. "The motion is before us," Vex Talon said in his high, screeching voice. "The human species has grown too fast. They take too many worlds. They build too many ships. We must limit them before they become dangerous." Hyunwoo felt his hands shake with anger. Dangerous? Humans had never attacked anyone who did not attack them first. They had traded fairly with all species. They had shared their technology freely. They had even helped fight against the pirate fleets that troubled the outer systems. But the Council did not see it that way. They saw humans spreading across the stars and felt afraid. Humans learned too quickly. They adapted too well. In just 50 years since first contact, humanity had grown from 1 small world to 30 thriving colonies. That scared the old species, who had taken thousands of years to do the same thing. Counselor Zithara of the Crystallites spoke next. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors when she talked. Right now, she glowed red with anger. "Humans are unpredictable. They do not follow the old ways. They question everything. They must be controlled." More voices joined in. The reptilian Scolari representative hissed his agreement. The aquatic Marathani delegate made bubbling sounds that So-Young translated as support for the motion. One by one, every alien species in the room voted to cage humanity. The motion was simple. Humans would be allowed only 3 star systems. They could not expand beyond those borders. They could not build military ships larger than cruiser class. All human colonies outside the 3 allowed systems must be abandoned within 2 years. Hyunwoo listened to the vote with a face like stone. Inside, his heart burned with rage. 3 systems for all of humanity. The Ithari alone controlled 40 systems. The Crystallites had 60. Even the smallest council species controlled at least 10 worlds. When the vote finished, Vex Talon looked down at Hyunwoo with what might have been a smile on his bird-like face. "The motion passes. By unanimous vote. Humanity will comply with these restrictions. You are dismissed, Ambassador." The word dismissed hit Hyunwoo like a slap. He was not just being sent away from this meeting, he was being told that his opinion did not matter, that humanity's voice did not matter, that humans themselves did not matter. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. He had prepared for this moment. Earth's leaders had known this day would come. They had given him clear instructions on what to do when the council finally showed its true face. "No," Hyunwoo said quietly. The word echoed in the sudden silence. Vex Talon's head tilted like a confused bird. "What did you say?" Hyunwoo straightened his shoulders and spoke louder. "I said no. Humanity rejects this motion. We reject this council's authority over us. Angry sounds came from all around the hall. Species that rarely agreed on anything were united in their shock. No one had ever simply said no to the Galactic Council. The Council was the law. The Council was order. The Council was power. "You cannot reject our authority," Zathara said, her crystal body flashing bright orange. "All spacefaring species must obey Council law." "Must we?" Hyunwoo asked. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small data pad. "I have here a complete legal analysis of every treaty and agreement between humanity and this council. Would you like to know what we found?" Vex Talon's feathers ruffled with annoyance. "Your legal games will not save you." "There are no games," Hyunwoo replied. "The truth is simple. Humanity never formally joined this council. We were granted observer status 30 years ago. We have participated in trade agreements and defense pacts. But we never signed the Charter of Submission that makes us subject to council law." The hall erupted in angry voices. Aliens shouted at each other in a dozen different languages. So Young moved closer to Hyunwoo, ready to protect him if needed. "Observer status requires obedience," the Scolari delegate hissed. "Does it?" Hyunwoo asked calmly. "Show me where it says that. Show me the document that makes humanity your servants." The aliens fell silent. They could not show him such a document because it did not exist. For 30 years, they had assumed human cooperation meant human submission. They had been wrong. Vex Talon stood up from his high seat. His full height was impressive, nearly 3 meters tall. "Legal words will not protect you from the consequences of defiance, human. This council commands the largest fleet in the galaxy. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have allies in every system. You are alone." Hyunwoo smiled for the first time since entering the hall. It was not a nice smile. "Are we?" He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of every alien there. "You call us dangerous because we grow too fast. You call us unpredictable because we do not fear you. You call us aggressive because we defend ourselves. But you have made one very big mistake." "And what is that?" Vex Talon demanded. "You have forgotten what humans do when you corner us," Hyunwoo said. "You have forgotten that we are survivors. We have been alone before. We have been outnumbered before. We have been told we cannot do something before. And every time, we have proven. You wrong?" He gestured to So Young, who activated a recording device. "This message will be sent to every human colony, every human ship, and every human station. As of this moment, the Terran Federation officially withdraws from all agreements with the Galactic Council. We end all diplomatic relations. We cancel all trade deals. We recall all ambassadors." The aliens stared at him in shock. Vex Talon's beak opened and closed without sound. "Furthermore," Hyunwoo continued, "any council ship entering human space without permission will be considered hostile. Any council agent attempting to land on a human world will be arrested. Any council member trying to contact a human colony will be ignored." "You cannot survive alone," Zathara screamed, her crystal body flashing like a warning light. "Can we not?" Hyunwoo asked. "We survived ice ages on Earth. We survived plagues and wars and disasters. We survived traveling between the stars in tiny metal boxes. We survived first contact with species that wanted to treat us like pets. I think we can survive without you." He turned toward the exit, So Young following behind him. But before he reached the door, he stopped and looked back one last time. "You wanted to contain us to 3 systems because you fear what we might become," he said. "Now you will never know where we are or what we are doing. You wanted us controlled. Instead, you have set us free. I hope you can live with the consequences." Thus he, great doors of the council hall closed behind them with a sound like thunder. In the silence that followed, the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in their high seats and wondered what they had just done. they would spend the rest of their lives finding out. 6 months had passed since Hyunwoo Kim walked out of the council hall. 6 months of complete silence from human space. The aliens had expected anger, threats, maybe even attacks. Instead, they got nothing at all. Tae-min Lee sat in his office, deep under the surface of Luna, Earth's moon. As director of Terran intelligence, he controlled the most advanced spy network in the galaxy. Now he was using it to make humanity disappear. The walls of his office were covered with screens showing star maps, communication networks, and trade routes. Red dots marked where human presence had been detected by alien sensors. Green dots showed where humans had successfully vanished. After 6 months of careful work, there were far more green dots than red ones. "Status report," Tae-min said to his aide, a young woman named Bo-ram Jung. Bo-ram consulted her datapad. "All major colonies have gone dark on public channels. Trade. Ships have stopped visiting alien ports. The blackout protocol is 93% complete." Tae-min nodded. The blackout protocol was his masterpiece. For 30 years, humanity had seemed eager to share technology and knowledge with alien species. What the aliens did not know was that humans had been very careful about what they shared. The communication systems, the translation programs, the navigation networks, all of them had hidden features that only humans understood. When the time came, Tae-min had activated those hidden features. One by one, every piece of human-built technology in alien space had either stopped working or started feeding false information to its users. The aliens found themselves suddenly cut off from data sources they had relied on for decades. On his main screen, Tae-min watched a recording from the water world of Aquatica. The planet was 90% ocean, dotted with floating cities where humans and aquatic aliens had worked together mining rare minerals from the sea floor. 3 days ago, the human mining operation had simply vanished. The recording came from Krelvash, a squid-like Marathoni merchant who traded with the humans regularly. His voice bubbled with confusion as he spoke to his council contact. "They were here yesterday," Krelvash said. 5,000 humans, 200 mining platforms, dozens of transport ships. I brought them supplies every week for 3 years. Today, nothing. The platforms are gone. The ships are gone. Even the underwater habitats are gone. Like they were never here. The council investigator's voice crackled through the communication link. "What about the mining equipment? The heavy machinery?" "Gone. All of it. The sea floor where they were working is smooth and clean. No trace of mining activity, no debris, no tracks, nothing." Tae-min smiled as he watched the recording. The Aquatica extraction had been one of the more challenging operations, moving 5,000 people and all their equipment without leaving. Any trace required careful planning and new technology. But they had done it. The secret was in the new transport ships. Human engineers had developed vessels that could break down matter at the atomic level, store it in compressed data streams, and rebuild it somewhere else. To outside observers, it looked like magic. To humans, it was just another tool. Bo-ram brought up another report on her screen. "The crystallites are asking questions about their communication network. Apparently, half their deep space sensors have stopped working." "Which half?" Tae-min asked. "The ones that were upgraded with human-designed components," Bo-ram replied with a grin. Tae-min laughed. The crystallites were proud of their ancient technology. They had been using the same basic designs for thousands of years. When humans offered to help improve their sensor networks, the crystallites had accepted eagerly. They thought they were getting free upgrades to their systems. What they actually got were sensors that worked perfectly, as long as humans wanted them to work. Now those sensors were either reporting false data or going completely silent. The crystallites were losing their ability to see what was happening in their own space. A new alert flashed on Tae-min's screen, a Priority 1 message from the outer colonies. He opened it immediately. The message came from Captain Sul Ki Kang, commander of the research station at Wolf 359. Her face appeared on screen, and Tae-min could see excitement in her eyes. "Director Lee, I need to report something incredible. The Council sent a spy ship to investigate our abandoned research station. They think we left 6 months ago when the blackout started. They have no idea we're still here." Tae-min leaned forward. Wolf 359 was one of humanity's most important research centers. It was where human scientists studied dimensional physics and quantum engineering. If the Council was sniffing around there, it could be dangerous. "What did they find?" he asked. Seul-ki smiled. "Exactly what we wanted them to find. Empty buildings, cold reactors, no life signs. They spent 3 days scanning the system and found nothing unusual. They left convinced that humans had evacuated completely. And the real station? Phase shifted into the 4th dimension, just like we planned. To them, we don't exist. To us, they're just shadows moving through normal space." Tae-min felt a surge of pride. Phase shifting was one of humanity's newest technologies. By moving matter slightly out of normal 3-dimensional space, they could make entire installations invisible and untouchable. The aliens could pass right through a phase-shifted human base without knowing it was there. Boram pulled up another report. "Sir, we're getting similar results everywhere. The Council has investigated 17 former human colonies in the past month. In every case, they found exactly what we wanted them to find. Nothing." The plan was working perfectly. While the aliens thought humanity was retreating and hiding, humans were actually expanding faster than ever before. They were just doing it in ways the aliens could not detect or understand. Tae-min brought up a classified star chart on his main screen. It showed the real scope of human expansion. Red dots marked human colonies that the aliens knew about. Blue dots marked colonies that were hidden from alien detection. Green dots marked completely new colonies built in systems the aliens had never explored. There were 3 times as many blue and green dots as red ones. "Show me the Kepler sector report," Tae-min said. The star chart zoomed in on a region of space that officially contained no human colonies. According to Council records, it was empty wilderness with no valuable resources. In reality, it was home to 12 thriving human settlements and the largest shipyard humanity had ever built. The report came from Admiral Jin-ho Choi, commander of the Hidden Fleet. His weathered face appeared on screen, and behind him, Tae-min could see the construction bays where humanity's new ships were being built. "The Council thinks we have maybe 200 ships," Jin-ho said. "They're wrong by a factor of 10. We now have 2,000 active vessels, with 500 more coming online every month. And these aren't the same old designs they're used to seeing." The camera panned to show one of the new ships. It was sleek and beautiful, but also alien in a way that would make the Council nervous. It moved through space like a living thing, its hull seeming to ripple and flow. These ships could exist in multiple dimensions at once, making them nearly impossible to target or track. "The new vessels are ready for anything," Jin-ho continued. "If the Council wants a fight, we can give them one. But I don't think it will come to that. They're too busy trying to figure out where we went to think about attacking us." Tae-min nodded. The beauty of the plan was its simplicity. By disappearing completely, humanity had turned the galaxy's fear against itself. The aliens spent all their time looking for humans instead of governing their own territories. They saw threats in every shadow and conspiracies in every system malfunction. A communication alert sounded. Boram checked her console and frowned. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. It's addressed to all human colonies and marked as urgent." "From the Council?" "Yes, sir. Should I put it through?" Tae-min considered. They had been ignoring all Council communications for 6 months. But this one might be worth hearing. "Put it on audio only. No response signal." The familiar screeching voice of Vextalon filled the office. The Athari Council leader sounded nervous, which was unusual for his species. "This message is for all human settlements and representatives. The Galactic Council wishes to open negotiations regarding the recent misunderstanding. We are prepared to discuss modifications to the territorial restrictions. Please respond through normal diplomatic channels." The message ended. Tae-min and Bo-Ram looked at each other and started laughing. "Modifications to the territorial restrictions?" Bo-Ram said. "6 months ago, they wanted to limit us to 3 systems. Now they're begging us to talk." Tae-min brought up another classified report. This one showed alien shipping routes that had been disrupted by human disappearance. Without human cargo ships and trading posts, some alien colonies were running. Short of essential supplies, economic networks that had relied on human technology were falling apart. "They're starting to realize they need us more than we need them," he said. "The question is, what do we do about it?" He opened a secure channel to Earth's government. President Yoona Kim appeared on screen, her face calm but determined. "Director Lee, I assume you heard the Council's message?" "Yes, Madam President. They want to negotiate. And what is your recommendation?" Tae-min looked at the star charts surrounding him. Commander Keelan of the Scolari Defense Fleet stared at his sensor readings and felt something he had never experienced before: genuine fear. His reptilian species had been warriors for 10,000 years. They did not frighten easily, but what he was seeing in the new Sol system made his scales crawl with terror. "Report!" he hissed to his sensor operator. "A young Scolari named Veltar." "Sir, the entire system has been harvested," Veltar said, his voice shaking. "All 4 planets are gone. The asteroid belt is gone. Even the smaller moons have vanished. Only the star remains." Keelan slithered to the main viewer and looked out at empty space. 6 months ago, this system had contained a thriving human colony. New. Sol had been home to 2 million humans and one of their major industrial centers. The planets had been rich with metals and rare elements that humans used to build their ships and stations. Now there was nothing but void. "How is this possible?" Keelan demanded. "You cannot just make planets disappear." But someone had. The gravity. Sensors showed where the planets should be, but there was nothing there. No debris, no dust clouds, no sign that worlds had ever existed in this place. It was as if someone had reached into space and simply deleted them. Veltar brought up a detailed scan of the system's edge. "Sir, there is one object remaining. A small probe near the orbit of what used to be the 4th planet. Bring us closer." Carefully. The Scolari warship moved toward the probe with weapons ready. Keelan had been fighting space pirates and rebels for 50 years. He knew a trap when he saw one. But his orders from the Council were clear. Find out what happened to the human colonies. The probe was small and simple, about the size of a shuttlecraft. It showed no signs of weapons or shields. As they approached, it began transmitting a message in perfect Council standard. "Greetings to the vessel investigating this system. This is an automated message from the former colony of New Sol. We thank you for your interest in our previous location. As you can see, we are no longer here. We have relocated to more suitable accommodations. Please note that all human installations and resources have been removed for reuse elsewhere. We regret any inconvenience this may cause to galactic shipping routes. Have a pleasant day." The message repeated 3 times. Then the probe went silent. Keelan felt his blood turn cold. The casual tone of the message was more frightening than any threat. The humans were not angry or defiant. They were simply stating facts, like someone announcing they had moved to a new house. "Sir," Veltar said quietly, "if they can move entire planets—" "I know," Keelan cut him off. The implications were too terrifying to speak aloud. If humans could relocate whole worlds, what else could they do? 2 weeks later, the reports began flooding into Nexus Prime. Every former human colony showed the same pattern. Complete evacuation of all people and equipment. Total removal of anything useful. No trace of where they had gone or how they had moved such massive amounts of material. Chief Science Officer Nal Thek of the Crystallites stood before the Council with a datapad full of impossible readings. His crystal body flickered between different colors as he struggled to explain what his teams had discovered. "The energy requirements alone should have been impossible," he said, his voice ringing like broken glass. "To move a planet requires more power than some species use in a century. To move it without detection requires technology that we cannot even theorize about." Counselor Vextalon perched on his high seat, feathers ruffled with anxiety. "Are you saying they have developed some kind of super weapon?" "Not a weapon," Nalthek replied. "Something much more dangerous. They have developed the ability to manipulate matter and energy on a scale we never imagined. They are not just moving planets. They are rebuilding them wherever they choose." The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. If humans could move worlds, they could move them anywhere. They could establish colonies in systems the Council had never explored. They could build industrial centers in places no one would ever look. They could create an entire civilization that existed parallel to Council space, but completely invisible to it. Zithara of the Crystallites spoke up, her crystal body pulsing with worried orange light. "What about our deep space monitoring stations? Surely they would detect massive construction projects." Nalthek's color shifted to dark blue, the crystallite equivalent of shaking his head. "Our monitoring network has been compromised. The human-designed components are feeding us false data. We might be looking directly at a human fleet and not know it." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Council. For 30 years, they had relied on human technology to upgrade their sensor networks. They had thought they were getting bargain improvements to their ancient systems. Instead, they had been systematically blinded. 3 months later, the fear turned to panic when the first impossible sightings began. Captain Rex Alo of the merchant vessel Prophet's Edge was hauling cargo through the Vega sector when his navigation computer detected something that should not exist. According to his charts, he was traveling through empty space between 2 star systems. According to his sensors, he was passing a massive construction project. The structure was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. It bristled with unknown technology and pulsed with energy readings that made no sense. Ships moved around it, like insects around a hive. But they were ships, unlike anything in the galactic databases. Rex Alo tried to get a closer look, but his ship's sensors kept losing track of the structure. One moment it was there, clear as starlight. The next moment it was gone, as if it had never existed. When he tried to record it, his camera showed only empty space. By the time he reached his destination, Rex Alo was convinced he was losing his mind. But when he filed his report with the Shipping Guild, he learned he was not alone. Dozens of other captains were reporting similar sightings. Massive structures that appeared and disappeared, ships that existed for a few seconds before vanishing, energy signatures that registered on sensors but could not be photographed or recorded. The Council's investigation teams found the same thing everywhere they looked: brief glimpses of impossible construction projects, sensor readings that suggested industrial activity on a titanic scale, gravitational anomalies that indicated the presence of massive artificial structures. But every time they tried to investigate directly, they found nothing but empty space. Dr. Mikyung Seo had been humanities representative to the Council's Science Division for 10 years before the diplomatic break. Her research papers were still in the Council's databases, and now the alien scientists were reading them with new eyes. Her work on multi-dimensional resource management had seemed like pure theory when she presented it. She had talked about using quantum mechanics to create pocket dimensions where matter could be stored and manipulated outside normal space. She had proposed using controlled gravitational fields to fold space-time and create shortcuts between distant locations. The Council scientists had politely ignored her work. It sounded impressive, but they assumed it was just human imagination running wild. Humans were always proposing impossible things. Now they realized she had not been proposing theories. She had been announcing plans. Nalthek worked through the night, studying every paper Dr. Seo had ever published. Slowly, a terrifying picture emerged. Humans had not been sharing their scientific knowledge with the Council. They had been telling the Council exactly what they intended to do, confident that the aliens would be too arrogant to take it seriously. "They told us everything," he said to himself as he read Dr. C.O.'s final paper. "They described their entire program, and we ignored it because we thought we were smarter." The paper was titled Large-Scale Engineering in Higher Dimensional Space. It described methods for building structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Such structures would be invisible to three-dimensional observers, but could affect normal space in dramatic ways. The final paragraph made Nalthek's crystal body flash with alarm. "The applications for this technology are limitless. Entire civilizations could exist in higher dimensional space, invisible to conventional observation but capable of interacting with normal matter at will. For a species facing territorial restrictions or resource limitations, dimensional engineering offers unlimited room for expansion." The paper was dated 3 years before the Council vote to restrict human expansion. Nalthek rushed to the Council chamber with his discovery. The alien leaders listened in growing horror as he explained what the humans had been planning all along. "They knew we would try to limit them," he said. "They prepared for it. While we were debating how to control them, they were building the tools to make our control irrelevant." Vextalon's feathers stood on end. "Are you saying they planned this confrontation?" "I am saying they planned for every possibility," Nalthek replied. "If we had treated them fairly, they would have remained visible partners. When we chose to treat them as threats, they became invisible neighbors. Either way, they continued to grow." The Council chamber fell silent. Every alien leader was thinking the same thought. How do you fight an enemy you cannot see? How do you negotiate with a civilization that might be standing right next to you without your knowledge? Outside the station, space looked empty and peaceful. The Deep Space Monitoring Station, Omega-7, had been watching the same patch of empty space for 40 years. It was built by the Crystallites to detect ships coming from the Galactic Rim, where pirates and raiders sometimes hid. The station was staffed by a rotating crew of different species, all experts in long-range sensors and communication. Today, something impossible happened. Sensor operator Kylemoth was a young Ithari who had been working the overnight shift when the alarm started. Screaming, her bird-like head snapped up from her console as red lights flashed throughout the control room. "Station commander to the bridge immediately," she called over the intercom. "We have a massive energy surge in Sector 7. Commander Thelvas," a veteran Scolari officer, slithered into the control room within minutes. His reptilian eyes fixed on the main display, and his scales turned pale with shock. "What am I looking at?" he hissed. "Sir, we are detecting the birth of a new star system," Kylemoth replied, her voice shaking. "Massive gravitational disturbances, hydrogen fusion ignition, and orbital mechanics settling into stable patterns. But sir, this is impossible. Star systems do not just appear." Thelvas studied the readings. According to their instruments, a new star had just ignited approximately 50 light-years from their position. Around it, planets were forming at an impossible speed. The whole process should have taken millions of years. Instead, it was happening in real time. "Could it be a sensor malfunction?" he asked hopefully. "No, sir. I have run full diagnostics. 3 times. All systems are working perfectly. We are observing the creation of an entirely new solar system." Before Thelvas could respond, the communication board lit up with incoming signals. The transmission was coming from the impossible new star system, broadcast on all Council frequencies simultaneously. A human voice cut through the static. It was calm, confident, and terrifyingly familiar. "This is Admiral Jinho Choi of the Terran Federation, broadcasting from the Kepler Construction Zone. Greetings to all Council vessels and monitoring stations currently observing our latest project." The camera activated, showing a human male in a crisp military uniform. Behind him stretched the bridge of a ship that defied every rule of engineering the Council knew. The walls seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, creating an optical illusion that hurt to look at directly. I know you have questions about recent events in our territory, Jin-Ho continued. Allow me to provide some answers. The view shifted to show what lay outside the ship. Thelvis felt his breath catch in his throat. They were looking at a completely artificial star system. The star itself burned with controlled fusion, held in check by massive gravitational field generators. Around it, 6 planets hung in perfect orbit, and each planet was clearly artificial. What you are seeing is the result of 18 months of construction, Jin-Ho explained. We call it the Kepler Project, though it is only one of many similar installations we have built since ending our diplomatic relations with the Council. The camera panned across the nearest planet. Its surface was covered with cities that stretched from pole to pole, connected by transportation networks that seemed to flow like rivers of light. Ships moved between the planets in vast formations, but these were not the crude metal vessels the Council was familiar with. These ships moved like living things, their hulls rippling with energy patterns. Perhaps you are wondering how we accomplished this, Jin-Ho said. The answer is simple. While you spent 30 years treating us like children, we spent 30 years learning from teachers you did not know existed. The view changed again, showing massive construction platforms hanging in space around the artificial star. These platforms were building something, structures so large they dwarfed planets. The scale was beyond anything the Council had ever imagined. We studied the ruins of the precursors, Jin-Ho continued. We learned from species that transcended physical existence millions of years ago. We discovered technologies that your civilizations abandoned as impossible before we were even born. At Monitoring Station Omega-7, Commander Thelvis was frantically trying to contact Nexus Prime, but every communication channel was jammed by the human transmission. They had taken control of the entire Council communication network. You thought. We were dangerous because we expanded too quickly, the Admiral said. You were right to be concerned, but for the wrong reasons. We were not dangerous because we took too many worlds. We were dangerous because we learned too quickly. The camera shifted to show Captain Sulki Kang standing at what appeared to be a control station. Around her, holographic displays showed. Star charts that made no sense. Systems appeared and disappeared as she manipulated the controls. Space itself seemed to bend and flow according to her commands. Captain Kang will demonstrate one of our recent breakthroughs, Jin-Ho announced. Sulki touched a control and suddenly the transmission was coming from a different location entirely. They were no longer in the Kepler system. Instead, they were floating in the void between galaxies, surrounded by a construction project that spanned light years. This is the Andromeda Gateway, she explained in perfect Council standard. We are currently located in the space between the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. Travel time from our previous location, 17 seconds. The implications hit the Council observers like a physical blow. The humans had just demonstrated faster than light, travel that made their own technology look like stone tools. They could cross galactic distances in seconds. We have built gateways to 47 different galaxies, Sulki continued. We have established contact with 17 species that exist in higher dimensions. We have learned to manipulate time, space, and matter on scales that most civilizations cannot even theorize about. The transmission shifted again, showing scenes that challenged everything the Council thought they knew about physics. Humans working alongside beings of pure energy. Ships that existed in multiple timelines simultaneously. Planets being constructed from raw space-time itself. The question you are probably asking, Jin-Ho said, is why we are showing you this now. The answer came from a new voice, President Yuna Kim herself. She appeared on screen in what looked like an office, but the office existed in a space that curved in impossible directions. Through the windows behind her, galaxies spun like pinwheels in a cosmic dance. We are showing you this because isolation was never our goal, she said. We withdrew from the Council because you refused to treat us as equals. Now we are returning. to offer you a choice. The transmission showed a view of Council space from an impossible perspective. Every system, every planet, every ship was visible simultaneously in a three-dimensional map that somehow contained more detail than should be physically possible. Your civilizations have reached a natural plateau, President Kim explained. For thousands of years, you have followed the same patterns, used the same technologies, made the same mistakes. You have become comfortable with limitations. Red markers began appearing on the map, showing threats that the Council had not detected: rogue black holes, gamma-ray bursts, invading fleets from other galaxies, cosmic disasters that would wipe out entire species. The galaxy is not as safe as you believe, she continued. There are threats approaching that your current technology cannot handle. Events that will occur within the next 50 years that will test every civilization's ability to survive. The view changed to show human fleets moving to intercept the approaching dangers. Ships that could survive inside black holes. Weapons that could redirect gamma-ray bursts. Technologies that turned cosmic disasters into energy sources. We offer the Council two options, President Kim said. You can maintain your current path. Continue to govern your small portion of the galaxy with your limited understanding. We will protect you from the threats you cannot see, but we will no longer participate in your political games. The alternative option appeared on screen. It showed Council species working alongside humans in projects that spanned multiple galaxies. Alien civilizations learning technologies that would transform them into something greater than they had ever imagined. Or you can accept that you are not the most advanced species in this galaxy. You can acknowledge that wisdom sometimes comes from younger voices. You can join us as junior partners in something much larger than any of your individual empires. The word junior hit the Council observers like a slap. For thousands of years, they had called humanity a junior species. Now the humans were offering them the same status. We understand this is a difficult choice, President Kim continued. You have ruled this galaxy for millennia. The idea of accepting guidance from a species you considered primitive must be painful. But pride is a luxury you can no longer afford. The transmission began to fade, but Jin Ho's voice came through clearly. You have 7 days to decide. Send your answer to the coordinates we are transmitting now. Choose wisely. The galaxy's future depends on it. The signal ended, leaving the monitoring station in stunned silence. Commander Thelva stared at the communication console, his reptilian brain struggling to process what he had just witnessed. The humans had not just returned to galactic affairs. They had announced that galactic affairs were now under human management. Sir, Kylemoth said quietly, what do we tell the Council? The Council's greatest battleship, Dominion's Pride, moved through space toward the coordinates the humans had provided. It was a massive vessel, 3 kilometers long and armed with enough firepower to destroy small moons. The pride of the Ithari. Fleet, it had never been defeated in battle. Today, it was not going to fight. It was going to surrender. Admiral Kexvalor stood on the bridge, his feathers gray with age and stress. In 40 years of military service, he had never imagined he would be leading a mission like this. The Council had chosen him to deliver their answer to humanity's ultimatum because he was the most respected military commander in the galaxy. He was also expendable. If the humans decided to demonstrate their power, better to lose one old admiral than risk the entire Council leadership. Sir, we are approaching the coordinates, reported his navigation officer, a young crystallite named Zilneth. Our sensors detect nothing unusual. Kexvalor was not surprised. Human technology had progressed beyond the Council's ability to detect it. They could be surrounded by an entire human fleet and never know it. All stop, he ordered. Begin transmitting our response on all frequencies. The message was simple and bitter. After 7 days of debate, the Council had chosen survival over pride. They accepted humanity's offer of protection, and they acknowledged human authority over galactic affairs. It was the hardest decision in Council history, but the alternative was extinction. For several minutes, nothing happened. Dominion's pride floated in empty space, waiting for a response that might never come. The crew was nervous, unsure what to expect from their former victims. Then space began to change. It started as a shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot metal. The stars in the distance seemed to bend and twist. Then reality folded, and suddenly, Dominion's pride was no longer alone. The human ship that appeared before them was impossible to understand. It was smaller than the Council battleship, maybe half the size, but it seemed to contain more space than its exterior dimensions allowed. The hull shifted and flowed like liquid metal, and energy patterns played across its surface in hypnotic waves. "This is Engineer Boram Jung aboard the Terran vessel Horizon's Edge," came a calm female voice over the communication channel. "Welcome to the negotiation zone, Admiral Kexvalor. Please prepare for transport." "Transport?" Kexvalor asked. "What kind of transport?" "The safe kind," Boram replied. "Please remain calm. This will feel strange the first time." Before Kexvalor could ask what she meant, the world around him dissolved. He felt a moment of disorientation, as if he was falling through empty space. Then, solid deck plating reformed under his feet, and he found himself standing in what appeared to be a conference room. The room was elegant and simple, with a long table made of some kind of crystal that seemed to glow with inner light. Around the table sat beings that Kexvalor recognized from intelligence reports, the leaders of humanity's government and military. At the head of the table sat President Yuna Kim, looking exactly as she had in the transmission. To her right was Admiral Jinho Choi, and to her left was the woman who had just spoken to him, Engineer Boram Jung. Other humans filled the remaining seats, all of them watching him with expressions that mixed curiosity and amusement. "Please, sit," President Kim said, gesturing to an empty chair. "We have much to discuss." Kexvalor looked around the room, trying to understand what had just happened to him. "How am I here? My ship was—" "Your ship is exactly where you left it," Boram said cheerfully. "We simply borrowed you for a few minutes. You will be returned safely when our meeting is complete." The casual way she spoke about manipulating matter and space made Kexvalor's head spin. To these humans, teleporting people between ships was apparently as simple as opening a door. "You have the Council's answer," he said, settling into the offered chair. "We accept your terms. Humanity will have authority over galactic defense and expansion. The Council will serve in an advisory role." President Kim nodded. "We appreciate the Council's wisdom in making this choice. However, we need to clarify something important. We are not interested in ruling your species." "Then what do you want?" Admiral Choi leaned forward. "We want to prepare this galaxy for what's coming. There are threats approaching that will make your old territorial disputes look like children's games. We need every species working together if we hope to survive." A holographic display activated above the table, showing the galaxy from an impossible perspective. Kexvalor could see every star system, every planet, every major space station. But he could also see things that made his blood run cold. Dark shapes were moving between the galaxies, vast fleets of ships that dwarfed anything the Council had ever built. Behind them came something even worse, a wave of darkness that seemed to devour stars themselves. "The Devourers," President Kim said quietly. "A species that consumes entire galaxies for resources. They have been working their way across the universe for millions of years. They will reach our galaxy in approximately 30 years. The display zoomed in to show individual Devourer ships. Each one was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons that could crack planets. But what truly terrified Kexvalor was the number of them. There were millions of ships in the approaching fleet. "Your species cannot fight them alone," Admiral Choi said. "Neither can ours, despite our recent advances. But together, with the right preparation, we might have a chance." Engineer Jung activated another display. This one showed construction projects spread across multiple galaxies. Massive defensive platforms. Weapons that used entire stars as power. Sources, ships that could exist in dozens of dimensions simultaneously. We have already begun building the defenses, she explained. But we need your help, not as servants, but as partners. Every species has unique capabilities that we can use. The display showed crystallite technology being used to create quantum communication networks, Scalari military tactics adapted for multidimensional warfare, Aetheri piloting skills being used to control ships that existed in multiple timelines. The Council species have thousands of years of experience, President Kim said. You understand large-scale coordination and resource management. You know how to make different cultures work together toward common goals. We need that knowledge. Kex Valor felt a spark of hope. He had expected to be treated as a defeated enemy. Instead, the humans were offering genuine partnership. What would the Council's role be? He asked. You would continue to govern your own territories, Admiral Choi replied. But you would also help coordinate the galaxy-wide defense effort. Think of it as expanding your current responsibilities rather than losing them. Boram brought up another display, this one showing the organizational structure of the new Galactic Alliance. The Council would manage civilian affairs and resource allocation. Humanity would handle advanced research and military development. Other species would contribute their unique capabilities to the collective effort. There is one condition, President Kim said. No more restrictions based on fear. No more attempts to limit any species because they grow too quickly or think too differently. We are all in this together now. Kex Valor understood. The old council had failed because it was built on fear and control. The new alliance would succeed because it was built on cooperation and shared purpose. When do we start? He asked. Admiral Choi smiled. We already have. While we have been talking, our ships have been working together to establish the first joint defense platforms. Your people are natural organizers. Ours are natural innovators. The combination is already proving effective. The holographic display showed mixed human and alien crews working on massive construction projects. Kex Valor could see crystallite. Engineers working alongside human scientists to build weapons that used physics he could not understand. Scalari tacticians were developing strategies for warfare in higher dimensions. This is just the beginning, President Kim said. In 30 years, when the Devourers arrive, they will find a galaxy that has been transformed. They will face weapons they cannot comprehend, operated by species they have never encountered, organized by a council that has learned to think beyond the limitations of three-dimensional space. She stood, and the others followed her example. Admiral Kex Valor, when you return to Nexus Prime, please convey our appreciation to the Council. Tell them that humanity holds no grudges for past mistakes. We are all young species compared to what's coming. We need to learn from each other if we hope to grow old. The world dissolved around Kex Valor again, and he found himself back on the bridge of Dominion's Pride. His crew was staring at him in confusion. To them, he had simply vanished for a few seconds and then reappeared. Sir? His navigation officer asked. What happened? Kex Valor looked out at the stars, which suddenly seemed less empty than before. Somewhere out there, humans and aliens were working together to build defenses against an enemy that would not arrive for 3 decades. The preparation was beginning now, and it would transform every species involved. We got our answer, he said. Set course for Nexus Prime. The Council needs to know that we are no longer the rulers of this galaxy. Then who is? Asked his tactical. Officer Kex Valor thought about the humans he had just met. Young by galactic standards, but wise beyond their years.